I never thought my research would lead me here. The castle in the Carpathian Mountains was supposed to be just another stop in my quest to uncover the secrets of medieval Europe. But as I stepped through the crumbling archway of the ancient fortress, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold Romanian air. The walls seemed to whisper, the shadows seemed to move, and the floor beneath my feet groaned as if it bore the weight of centuries. I am Giacomo Morelli, an Italian historian with a passion for the unknown. This castle, long abandoned and shrouded in local superstition, was said to hold secrets that no one dared to uncover. I had laughed at the stories of vampires and curses, dismissing them as folklore, but now, as I stood in the dim light of my flickering lantern, I wasn't so sure. The floor gave way without warning. One moment I was standing in the grand hall, examining the intricate carvings on the walls, and the next I was falling. The wooden planks splintered beneath me, and I plunged into darkness. My lantern shattered as it hit the ground far below, leaving me in utter blackness. I landed hard on a cold, damp surface, the impact knocking the wind out of me. For a moment I lay there, stunned and disoriented. My hands groped blindly in the dark, feeling the rough, uneven stone beneath me. The air was thick and stale, carrying a faint metallic scent that made my stomach turn. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the only source of light I had left. A small box of matches. I counted them quickly. 11 matches to find my way out of this nightmare. I struck the first match, and the tiny flame flared to life, casting flickering shadows on the walls of the cavern. The sight that greeted me was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. I was in a vast underground chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. The walls were lined with ancient carvings, their details obscured by layers of moss and grime. But what caught my eye were the coffins, dozens of them, arranged in neat rows along the walls. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached the nearest coffin. The wood was old and splintered, the metal hinges rusted. I hesitated for a moment before pushing the lid open. It was empty, but the inside was stained with a dark, dried substance that I didn't want to think about. I moved quickly, knowing that the match wouldn't last long. The flame burned down to my fingers, and I dropped it with a hiss. Darkness swallowed me once more. I struck another match, 10 left, and continued my exploration. The chamber seemed to stretch on forever, its dimensions impossible to gauge in the limited light. I passed more coffins, some intact, others broken and spilling their contents onto the floor. The air grew colder with each step, and I could hear faint whispers echoing through the darkness. I told myself it was just the wind, but deep down, I knew better. I found a narrow passage leading out of the chamber and followed it, the match burning dangerously low. The walls of the passage were slick with moisture, and the floor was uneven, forcing me to move carefully. The passage opened into another chamber, smaller than the first but no less ominous. In the center of the room stood a stone altar, its surface stained with the same dark substance I had seen in the coffins. I felt a presence behind me and spun around, the match flickering in my trembling hand. The flame illuminated a pair of glowing red eyes, staring at me from the shadows. I stumbled back, dropping the match as fear gripped me. Darkness closed in, and I heard the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. I struck another match, 9 left, and the light revealed a figure standing just a few feet away. It was humanoid, but its features were twisted and grotesque, its skin pale and stretched tight over its bones. Its mouth was filled with sharp, jagged teeth, and its eyes burned with a malevolent hunger. I turned and ran, the match burning out as I fled down the passage. I could hear the creature behind me, its footsteps echoing in the darkness. I struck another match, 8 left, and saw that the passage split into 2. I took the left fork, hoping it would lead me to safety. The passage twisted and turned, the walls closing in around me. I could hear the creature gaining on me, its breath hot on my neck. I struck another match, 7 left, and saw a narrow staircase leading upward. I climbed as fast as I could, the match burning out before I reached the top. I emerged into another chamber, this one filled with ancient artifacts and crumbling scrolls. But I had no time to examine them. The creature was still behind me, its claws scraping against the stone as it climbed the stairs. I struck another match, 6 left, and searched for a way out. I found a heavy wooden door and pushed it open, revealing a long, dark corridor. I ran down it, the match burning out as I went. I could hear the creature close behind, its growls echoing through the corridor. I struck another match, 5 left, and saw that the corridor ended in a sheer drop. I skidded to a halt at the edge, the match flickering in my hand. Below me was a vast underground river, its black waters flowing silently through the darkness. I had no choice but to jump. I took a deep breath and leaped, the match burning out as I fell. The water was icy cold, and the current pulled me under. I fought my way to the surface, gasping for air. I struck another match, 4 left, and saw that the river was flowing through a series of tunnels. I swam with the current, hoping it would lead me to the surface. The match burned out, and I was plunged into darkness once more. I could hear the creature splashing in the water behind me, its growls growing louder. I struck another match, 3 left, and saw a faint light in the distance. I swam toward it, the match burning out as I reached the source of the light. It was a small opening in the tunnel, just large enough for me to squeeze through. I pulled myself out of the water and into a narrow passage. The light was coming from a crack in the ceiling, and I could see the faint outline of stairs leading upward. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest. The passage was narrow and steep, and I could hear the creature close behind. I struck another match, 2 left, and saw that the stairs led to a heavy iron door. I pushed it open and found myself in a small, dimly lit room. The room was filled with ancient weapons and armor, their surfaces covered in dust. I grabbed a sword and turned to face the creature as it emerged from the passage. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and it lunged at me with a snarl. I swung the sword, the blade slicing through the creature's arm. It howled in pain and retreated back into the passage. I struck another match, 1 left, and saw that the room had another door on the opposite side. I ran to it and pushed it open, revealing a long, dark corridor. I ran down the corridor, the match burning out as I went. I could hear the creature behind me, its footsteps echoing in the darkness. I struck my last match and saw that the corridor ended in a large, ornate door. I pushed the door open and found myself in a grand hall, its walls lined with ancient tapestries and its ceiling lost in shadow. The hall was filled with more of the creatures, their eyes glowing in the darkness. They turned to face me, their mouths twisted into cruel smiles. I had no matches left, no light to guide me, but I saw a large chandelier hanging from the ceiling. I grabbed a nearby torch and lit it with the last match, then threw it at the chandelier. The flames spread quickly, and the chandelier came crashing down, scattering the creatures. I ran through the hall, the flames lighting my way. I could hear the creatures behind me, their growls growing louder. I reached the entrance of the castle and burst out into the cold night air. I was free. I looked back at the castle, its dark silhouette looming against the night sky. I knew I had escaped by the skin of my teeth, and I vowed never to return. As I walked away, I reached into my pocket and felt the empty matchbox. 11 matches had been enough to guide me through the darkness. But I knew one thing for certain. The castle's secrets were better left buried.